Hey, Resma, we were having some technical difficulties this morning for a minute without radius, but we're ready to get rolling.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, well, we got 3 minutes, and then I'll start letting people in. Me and Juanine had to figure it out because Radius went to Mexico on us, and we had to find the right link to connect with you.
Wow. She didn't tell y'all she was going, or she forgot?
No, we knew. We just were having difficulty because she's got so many different Zoom links.
Yeah.
But we figured it out.
Okay.
After we get done with this, you got like 2-3 minutes. I could just ask you a question quick.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. It's gonna be it's all bodies today, right?
Yes.
So this is gonna be this is gonna be a difficult it's gonna be a difficult meeting today. So I'm just, letting y'all know.
Talk about Buffalo.
Yeah. So there's gonna I'm not quite sure how it's gonna go, but this is
I was briefly tuned into the news this morning when I was getting ready, and something stupid, like he said he did it because he was worried about there being too many black people or something in the population.
Replacement
theory. Them. Yeah.
Replacement theory. Yeah.
You want me to start letting these guys in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Good.
My computer decided this was going to be a good time to reboot itself. So I'm trying to look at y'all through my phone now. So hey, everybody. Hey, Drea. All right. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Annie. I see you, Kevin.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Emily. Good to see your face. Kristen. Marlon, what's happening?
Good morning.
Hey,
How are you?
Lawrence. I'm doing all right. Doing all right. All right, make sure we all get our, if we can, unless you're gonna let Maurice and Juanine know, make sure you got your cameras on. Hey, Maurice, how many we here? So how many we expecting about?
That information I didn't get. So
Okay.
I'm not
No
sure
worries.
how many
No worries.
people in this cohort.
No worries. No worries. No worries at all.
I think the past couple meetings, Resma, we've been about 45 to 50.
About 45 to 50. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Maurice, how many we have so far today, right now?
Right now we got 22 and there's 3 more getting ready to come in.
Good. All right, I'm gonna wait for a little bit there.
Should be at 30 now.
I believe we have 44 that said yes.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Maurice, Juanine, once my computer decides it's gonna,
Or a school? Or a fort?
somebody's got their mic on.
I know.
Once my computer cuts back on, I may get off and get on that one so I can see everybody.
It looks like right now we're starting to kind of slow down, Resma, as far as people in the waiting room. I don't see anybody coming in.
Okay. All right. All right. Just one sec. Okay. Hey, everybody. It's good to see y'all. Today, I would really appreciate that if we're on today, that we're on today, that if you got other things to do, please put that to the side. I just think that that, you know, we have to start thinking about, yeah, I know we have other work. This is 90 minutes. Let's be with us today. And from now on, let's be with us, and then go from there. You should all have, if you don't have it, get a pen and a piece of paper, or a pencil and a piece of paper. We're going to do a lot of soul scribing today. And yeah. So, the work that we're trying to do is not it's not cursory work. It's foundational work. It's not episodic work. It's structural work. And all we're doing is getting reps in and work in. So when and as things occur, we're conditioned and tempered to work with it, as opposed to getting overwhelmed by it. Are y'all tracking me so far? Nothing that we're doing is about performance. So people see us as being good people, or people see us as having the answer, or people see us as being the smart ones in the room. That's not sustainable. You can't transfer that knowledge through generations. It stops with you. The work that we're doing is about creating foundations so white body supremacy and all of its connectors can at some point be abolished by our children's 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 children. Our job is to get conditioned so we can build the infrastructure that's needed to usher in a living, embodied, anti-racist culture. I've been watching the NBA playoffs, and I was listening to this coach, Sam Mitchell, who used to coach the Timberwolves. Sam said that when he was coaching, a player by the name of Jose Calderon came to him after the season. They do exit interviews, and the player came, and he was the 15th man on the team. And he came to Coach, and he said, "Coach, what can I do to improve? What can I do?" Because he was getting ready to get booted out of the league. He knew it. He knew that next year he was not going to be in the league because he wasn't where he needed to be. And Coach looked at him, and Coach said, "If I were you, I'd get up between 2,500 and 3,000 shots every day between now and the time training camp starts." And he said, because some of the things that you need have to emerge. They're not going to be something that I'm going to be able to coach into you. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? And until you get to the point of wanting to not do it and do all of that and get around it and stuff, until you get to your growth edges, you're not, the things that need to emerge from you are not going to be able to emerge. Calderon took that to heart. The next day, he sends Coach a video of him in the gym getting up 3,000 shots. Every time he leaves the gym, he calls Coach. Every day he called. "Coach, I'm here. Coach, I'm there. I'm sick, but I'm in here shooting these. I'm doing this. I'm in here shooting these." The next year he came back and he became a 40% three-point shooter. Right now, if you mention Jose Calderon, he was known as one of the best shooters. That wasn't because he started off as the best shooter. And the reason why I'm telling y'all this story is that when it comes to white supremacy and white body supremacy, I think sometimes we think we have enough talent to get us through, or we have enough smarts to get us through, but we're not conditioned. And so the reason why I wanted to say this to y'all is the work that you're trying to do within education, within a structure that was primarily predicated on exclusion of certain bodies. My body could get murdered, raped, hung, whipped for reading a book. Indigenous bodies were put in, quote unquote, schools in order to kill the Indian and save the man. That was the ethos of the schools. And so you're trying to create something that undercuts that. You're trying to build something, even you don't know what it is. You're trying to build something at the same time you're resisting the seductiveness of white body supremacy. It has a seductive quality to it. All you have to do is do nothing and it will keep marching. And when we get tired, if we're not conditioned, we won't stay with the building and resisting at the same time. We have to build this thing that we don't quite know how it's going to look, and resist white supremacy and white body supremacy at the same time. Both. As I'm talking, you're noticing something. You're noticing something. There's energy. I want to take 2 minutes and just scribe. Right now, just take 2 minutes. What are you noticing? What's the vibe? What's the images? What's the Vimbasi? Hmm. All right. So this past weekend, I got asked. I got asked to do a keynote for this organization for the White Privilege Conference up in Duluth, and there's mostly white bodies in the room. And I kept talking to them about, we come to things like this in order to get some knowledge so we can, quote unquote, do something. And what I said is a lot of times there is no culture. It's not about culture building. It's about getting ideas and getting knowledge without the gnawing. Many white bodies want to get the information without realizing that the gnawing in your body, the piece in the pit of your gut or in your neck, those pieces is actually the energy that will be used for your transformation. And many times white bodies want to get the information and move on without realizing that the gnawing is an important element in emerging knowledge. If you don't have the gnawing, or you're able to successfully kill the gnawing through intellect or through debate or whatever it is, if you're able to succeed, you are no longer useful in this. One of the things that happened when I was sitting there, is that they had a little 14-year-old white girl whose mama had decided she was going to really start talking with her and working with her daughter around embodied anti-racism. So the little 14-year-old was up there interviewing me. And one of the things that I said was to the white audience in there is, right here, this should be standard fare for y'all. So she gets to experience all of the dread, all of the nervousness, all of those pieces, and get her reps in at 14. I did that at 10 o'clock in the morning. I get back home, drive from Duluth, get back home around 3 o'clock. 5 o'clock, I start getting stuff across my social media that a white supremacist went into a grocery store, a low-income grocery store filled with Black bodies, and injured 13 people and murdered 10 other people with the N-word scrawled across the tip of his gun, with a manifesto purporting replacement theory. And one of the people he murdered was a long-time 87-year-old civil rights leader who was just shopping. He walked up on a white body and was getting ready to shoot the white body. And the white body said no. And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and moved on to the Black body. And he was taken alive. I just want to sit with that piece. He was taken alive. Dylan Ruth murdered Black people in a church after a service, was taken alive. When I'm talking about white body supremacy, this is what I'm talking about. The advantage, not privilege, the advantage of being in a white body. The reason why I'm saying this to y'all is that no amount of strategy or wokeness or any of that stuff is going to work that. That's going to have to be culture building. And I've noticed, have y'all noticed that we've been together for a little while now? Have y'all noticed how much rah-rah there was at the beginning of this work that we were doing? How many people were 100% down? Have y'all noticed how those numbers don't equate to that anymore? Remember what I said when we first started getting together? Your people are not the people you start with, it's the people you end with. Remember when I said that? This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. In the face of somebody who sees that who believes and is fueled by the belief that I am replacing him. Your rah-rah and wokeness won't be sustainable in the face of an AR-15. Let's take 2 minutes. Let's do some soul scribing. Juanine or Maurice, I'm in the waiting room on my computer. So when you get a chance, just let me in.
Resma, I don't know if you realize you're muted.
Man, that was some good stuff I was saying too. So here, there's two pieces that I want, particularly with the white bodies. I'm gonna open it up, but I want you to tell me what's showing up as you're listening to me talk. What's showing up in your Vimbasis? What's showing up as you're listening to me? You've already scribed it, you've already wrote it. You don't have to have everything, but what's showing up? And then number two, when I'm talking about infrastructure, how will you begin to talk with other white bodies and white bodies, younger white bodies, particularly younger male white bodies? How will you begin to talk to them about what's fueling these pieces? How will you begin to talk with them and put this in as you're walking through the hall, put this in your body and in the way that you move? How you will be able to interface with those white bodies up and down your halls, up in the teacher's lounge, in getting on the bus, in your next cubicle. I want to know. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for you to start thinking about, how do I begin as a white body, begin to address these pieces and begin to create a infrastructure that can actually hold all of the charge that shows up in churches, in mosques, in supermarkets. You start with your Vimbasi first, and then tell me, and I need to hear people who haven't been going. I need to hear bodies that haven't been going. This is not perfection. These are reps I'm talking about. How would you begin to address these pieces among white bodies? Autumn, go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta just be on it. You know, when I really think about how I feel in my body, it's fucking uncomfortable because I feel rage. Like I want to hurt the person who, and that's so unhelpful. And I don't think of myself that way. So that's really uncomfortable because I can't find, or in my body, I don't feel any abundance or space to help. And so your question, I don't know, because that's not what I'm feeling in my body. I'm not feeling but it feels.
Yeah, start there, right there. Don't get off, stay with me. This right here is one of the pieces communally that white bodies don't have any efficacy. This is why I say white bodies don't have any efficacy with race. No agility with. So when the rage comes up, there is no communal way of working with it. Now what I'm going to ask you, Autumn, is how do you bring that back to your triad so you can begin to work with it, so this stuckness that you're experiencing right now gets worked the fuck out, because it is unhelpful. And what and if you try and only manage it individually, that is inadequate to what you are seeing. That's the piece that's why I'm saying this is not about the collapse that happens with white bodies in the face of this stuff, the stuckness in the throat that happens with white bodies, the rage that happens with white bodies goes unexamined. You have to examine it through the hip, through the historical, through the intergenerational, through the persistent institutional, through the personal stuff, and not just take it and go, well, there's nothing for me to do. That's the problem. So how do you take that stuckness and work it with your triad. Work it with the Vimbasi, and over and over and over and over again. The rage is a doorway in, not an exit out.
When I watched the video that we had for the homework, I could see the softness of knowing, or I don't know the right word. I could see the potential for finding the softness, knowing the generational markers, events that leads to that level of racism and violence. I can't find that. So
Yeah, and because you're trying to find it in the, keep saying this to y'all. You keep trying to find this stuff individually. And that 18-year-old boy who did this, that 18-year-old whatever that did this, came from a culture are y'all tracking me? He came from a place in which there was a theory that was pumped into him. He came from a place that symbols were pumped into him. He came from a place where he had a story and a lineage that was, do y'all understand what I'm saying? And the whole structure supported that. His educational structure, his economic, every structure supported that. And y'all got to be about the business of creating the other side. Thank you, Autumn. Others, people who haven't gone.
I can go.
Okay, Kathy.
I was doing the Vimbasi, and I was noticing in my body sort of layering of things, like a tightness, then a buzzing, then a pounding, then a nausea, and then a cramping, like in layers in my body. And then the imagination piece took me to sort of I don't know, some sort of earthy sort of thing of leaves and like, I don't know. That was the imagination part.
So what did you, how does that, when you think about that, now take a pause on that. And when you think about the Vimbasi, how does that do anything with how you might move with other white bodies in getting at what fueled this particular incident? This is just this. I'm trying to get y'all to understand that the way that we look at these things as incident and episodes is really inadequate. So if you know it's structural, how will you begin to, even if it's a nibble, how will you begin to give voice to that structural pieces and not just the shock, oh my God, I can't believe this individual white boy just did this. Like, how do you begin to get at, oh, this is structural, this keeps happening. This has happened since the inception of this country. So Kathy, how would you begin to even move in that direction? Take a pause before you answer. This is not, when I'm asking y'all these questions, this is not about right or wrong. I'm asking you to get your reps in. Good pause.
Well, I certainly don't have the answer. um, a couple of things you said resonated, I guess, but that gnawing is maybe where some of the answer lies. So, and that we're not working toward not having that gnawing.
Right there. This is not working towards relief.
Right.
And for white bodies, comfort trumps every fucking thing. You're not working towards relief.
And yeah. My eyes teared. So typically when that happens, something's been said that has meaning, but as yeah, I'll leave it there.
Leave it there. Others. Holly.
Yeah. So Kathy's in my triad.
Mhm,
And I know we really try to, like, the point is just stay centered on race.
mhm,
But as we're talking about this today, I feel like there's some echoes with the Me Too movement and how
mhm,
white women took some action
mhm,
and weren't necessarily worried about white comfort or our own comfort. And they just, as sisters and mothers and women, said no.
mhm.
And when we're thinking about, I think your question was how to address this with younger male white bodies. And my thought there, that was like, well, that's hard because as a female, there is even a younger male, a different power dynamic sometimes that you're aware of.
Mhm.
And so I kind of got stuck there. And then I
Okay.
just wandered over to Me Too, and maybe there's some action there or
Yeah.
some feelings there.
Yeah. So let me help you a minute, Holly. So first off, I would ask that you read some work from Tarana Burke about the Me Too movement, because it wasn't Shangri-La like how you're talking about it, right? White women actually took that movement over, and it was started by a Black woman. Okay, so I would start there. Many times, what happens for white folks is that they immediately move into action and strategy. And what I'm trying to get y'all to do is slow it down first and work with that stuff that Kathy was talking about and Autumn was talking about, that stuckness, that rage, those pieces, rather than coming to some type of conclusion. I'm talking about how do you begin to do things so stuff can emerge. And so let me say another thing about sexism and racism. There are interconnections with sexism and racism, but white women a lot of times use that as an off-ramp to not deal with racism. And what I'm gonna say to y'all is, if you use that and you decide that it is too hard to talk or deal or get other white men to help you with that or work with whatever it is, then what you saw Saturday will never be addressed. You cannot continue to use interconnections and things as off-ramps. It's all comfort. It's much more comfortable for y'all, for women, for white women, to use that as an off-ramp. Don't do it. Don't do it. Stay with the uncomfortableness of not knowing what the fuck to do and do something anyway. Make the mistakes. Take it back to your triad. Stay with it, Holly. Don't take the off ramps. There are so many off ramps built into white bodies being comfortable. Stay with it. Bimbasi on it. Bring it to Kathy. Let her witness you. Work with it, and then do something. And when I say do something, I don't mean creating a rally against white body supremacy. That's not what I'm a workshop again. That's not what I'm saying. I don't know what the emergence is, but I know if y'all keep doing it this way and keep centering comfort, the thing that needs to emerge will not. Thank you, Holly. Others,
Resma, can I speak for?
please.
So a good example of this, I was reached out by one of my colleagues who's connected here right now. And I think this is a perfect example of how the teachings of the year of learning have helped white bodies. So I was reached about probably a month ago from the online school. And Heather, I'm calling you out. And what I appreciate about this is she was reviewing the Spanish curriculum, right? And in reviewing the Spanish curriculum, a couple of things didn't sit right with her.
Yes.
She sent me an email right away and said, hey, I was thinking, could you meet with us and kind of review this? That stemmed from this beautiful conversation on the learnings that we've had from the year of learning, and her discomfort of saying, like, I'm not sure I should be the one calling this out, and us speaking about, like, no, you are the person that should be calling it out.
Right.
And Resma, let me tell you,
right,
as soon as I opened this document, Heather had these legit comments and concerns that, like, I got goosebumps knowing that my ally had my back, had our baby's back. And let me give you an example. In the curriculum, this particular lesson plan had nicknames of countries in South America and Central America, right? Pretty good lesson, but like words changed in meanings in El Salvador and Colombia or Ecuador. And Ecuador, it said Ecuadorians call each other's mono, is monkey. We would be teaching this, contributing to this white supremacy culture, having these white bodied children calling these nicknames to these Ecuadorians. To me, and Heather, I appreciated you coming up from your comfort and being real with me, and we had such a good meeting there. But that was some real shit right there.
That's real shit.
You know, for her to acknowledge the discomfort, but then also like being able to open this document and just seeing it's like question after question, challenging it, because she's holding us accountable and she wants the best education, not just for the white bodies, but for all of us, our children. So I just really appreciate you saying it's like, you don't have to do these rallies.
Right.
It's just the little mindset changes of ththings. So
Marlon, stay on for a second. I want to say something to both of you and Heather. This next piece I'm going to say is extremely important in terms of the foundation of what we're building. Okay. Had Heather not been going through this for the last 2 years, the gnawing might not have been as strong. Do you understand? Do you understand what I mean? That gnawing is so important. That's the first piece. The second piece is this. Because we've been working on this, there was enough glue developed to where she could go, ooh, that don't, I don't like that. Something is, ooh, I don't quite know what the word, right? Let me call Marlon. Why? Because there had been glue week after week, practice after practice. She had gotten enough shots up, right? To where she could see you as resource. She didn't know if you was gonna be like, what the fuck is this? Get the, you sending me this book. She didn't know if that was gonna happen, but she had some sense that maybe she could read, right? That's the glue. And so when you see that and you open up your thing, right? And you see the comments she done made, you go, oh, she's gotten enough reps in. Maybe I can pass her the ball now, right? She's got, right? I trust some pieces of her. Why? Because we've gotten some reps in together, right? And so when you see it, and you see the reps, you actually get a rep in by watching it. You get a resource rep. You go, oh shit, that's okay. That's it. That's what I'm not opening it up and my heart goes, oh fuck. Oh, like you open it up and your body said, yeah, I can ride with that, right? That's a rep. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? This is so important. The development of culture happens daily.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
There's another layer to that too. So I am not the subject matter expert. So we were working with another educator that was male and much older than me. So there was a power dynamic. It was very hard for me. Sorry, it's funny because we both unmuted at the same time and I muted to let him talk. And when he shared that, like my whole body just like flushed with, I don't know how to explain it. It was like a lot of dots of energy in it. But I had to go back to this educator and say, look, your awareness and understanding of some of these terms is not, is damaging and we can't use them. We can't do these activities and we need to be really, really mindful about some of these things. And it was hard. It's still hard. There's still some things that are coming up that I have to be really aware of. And that intersectionality around white body supremacy, to me, it's also very wrapped in patriarchy, and I don't know how to completely unpack all of that.
Right. Heather, let me say this piece. Let me just say this. One of the pieces that I just saw happen with you is that you had this emotional thing that just happened. You was like, man, I don't quite know how to do that. And you worked it. I watched you on screen just work it. Okay. The way you handle the patriarchy wrapped into the white body supremacy is doing what you're doing.
And I would not have been able to do that without Marlon.
That's right.
I want to acknowledge that. So like that, he gave me the language to like have that conversation in a, the only word I can think of is a progressive way so that we can move forward instead of it being pushed back and no resolution, if that makes sense.
I would say what else helped is the fact that you've been here for the past year and a half, 2 years.
Oh, absolutely.
That I don't want y'all, because when I'm talking about structural shit, this is what I'm talking about. The way
actually, I did the body exercises in chapter 11, I think, before that meeting, because I needed to come in with such a calm presence that
right, because you understood that there was going to be charge. So what did you do? You went and got some more shots up. Right? You wouldn't practice the piano a little bit longer, right? I'm not saying literally, y'all, I'm using metaphor here, right? You conditioned yourself to be able to work with what the fuck you knew was going to happen when you wouldn't brought this back to that older white man.
That's how you begin to work with the patriarchy.
And I'm uncomfortable with this right now because I know it's like, I feel like I'm in a spot, like, I don't want it to be congratulatory or anything either. So it's just like, this work is hard. It's hard.
You think?
Yeah. No, I knew that coming into it. It's not like,
Yeah.
blindsided by it, but
Listen, this shit is brutal on bodies of culture every fucking day.
absolutely.
Every day. I'm so glad that y'all are uncomfortable and getting gnawed and good. Absolutely. Now maybe I can trust you.
Hey, Resma, Sai Lee had her hand raised. I don't know if
Hey,
you
Sai
still
Lee.
have a
Come on,
question,
Sai Lee.
'cause it's down now, but she had it up for a while.
Yeah, so a couple of things. So I was just processing when others were talking. So my question partially got answered, but I want to say that I have had, so I'm a cultural liaison, so I get similar questions from white colleagues, and similar experience what Marlon just described, where because it's Asian American Heritage Month, May is, I had a white teacher write to me asking, hey, this is the curriculum, or these are some of the Asian stories I'm going to teach my elementary kids. Is this okay? And I had to connect her to actually a Chinese American expert, or at least person who knew what the stories were about. And she pointed out similar things, that there were some derogatory words used there and some stereotypes which we shouldn't be teaching our kids. So exactly the same experience. And I think there are a few white bodies who have started doing that, but still there are a lot of white bodies who show resistance or hesitancy to do that. So that was my one reaction. And the second, actually right from the beginning when we were doing Vimbasi, I realized that whenever I do Vimbasi, I always have a hard time filling in the M box, like what is M? And then now when I was listening, I realized what we are doing here in this group is the M, right? I am.
Say that again. Say that again, Sai Lee. You went out.
Meaning making is what we are doing through this discussion or this group, right? So that was answered for me when I was listening. So.
Yes. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. Here's one of the things I'm going to say to both you and Marlon, okay? And other bodies of culture that are on this call, right? Is that you got people on this call right now, white bodies that have been going through a process with you for a certain amount of time, right? And so there's a different level of cultural glue that's being developed with these white bodies compared to somebody just fucking cold calling you. Okay, be careful, bodies of culture, with your labor expenditure with people outside of this piece, because people will see you as the wise old a Latin owl, or the wise old black owl, or the wise old Asian owl, right? And they won't do anything but extract from you. Y'all understand what I mean? So just be careful with that. If there's somebody on this group that calls you and they need a question, right? You get to hold them accountable because you know they're gonna be coming back the next week or the next month. Or do you understand what I mean? But people outside of that, just be careful. That's all I'm saying. Sai Lee, giving that person somebody outside to do something else so they're not extracting that from you, perfect. This is the infrastructure pieces that I'm talking about, y'all. Others.
So Resma, right now that you brought that up, Cinco de Mayo had just passed, and I had some staff come to me and ask me like how I was going to celebrate it. And I had to explain to people that I don't necessarily celebrate it. And I knew where they were going at, right? Because everybody thinks it's Mexican Independence Day. And so I had to, after the second person, I was like, why don't you guys Google it? Like, why, like every year, why do I have to tell you guys? Like, Google it. And then I even had a BIPOC person tell me if they thought if I was gonna Day of the Dead, I literally laughed so hard because I was like, that's in October. And she was like, what? That's what I was taught in school. And this is a BIPOC person that was taught in school here in Minnesota that Cinco de Mayo was Day of the Dead. I just about like, I had no words for that.
Right, right,
Oh.
right. We've been, here's one of the things, and you just hit it perfectly of it. We've been bodies of culture, and this is why I don't say BIPOC, I say BIBOC, Black and Indigenous bodies of culture, not people of color. But we've been steeped in this bullshit too. We've been steeped in all of this xenophobic white body supremacy bullshit. And so we get shit ethnically wrong with each other, right? And that's why I'm saying be careful about the expenditure of your life energy as bodies of culture. If they are not rocking with you in a cultural developmental piece, which is what we're doing here, then the nature of the questions become extractive. Are y'all understand what I mean when I say that? The nature of the questions become extractive because when they ask the question, they're not asking the question in a cultural context. They're asking the questions to do something, not to build something, to do. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? This is very important, and I'm speaking to bodies of culture right now. Be careful about when somebody's asking you something and you notice the vibration of a pulling or a sucking or a cramping or a pushing down or a bracing. Stop. Stop. Just stop. You don't need to know what the next answer is. You don't need to explain. Stop. I don't have no room for this right now. And then go away, bring it to your triad, do your Vimbasi, orient, ground, do your whatever it is that you need to do, and get your reps in. Thank you.
So Resma, when I heard Marlon and Siley share their story, it reminded me of a situation I witnessed in a classroom, probably about, I want to say like within the last month it's been taking place. So I go to the sites, and one site in particular I go to quite regularly, and there's a teacher, and it's like when I'm in there, they're like, she's trying to be culturally responsive, but all she's teaching about is like slavery and like all that stuff, right? So two things happened. One day, she didn't teach about slavery when I was up there, and the students go, thank fucking God you're not gonna talk to us about being slaves and shit again today. Like there's more about being Black than being a slave, right? And you could tell like she just like didn't get why the students didn't want to keep learning about the part of our history that was torturous. And then she did something else again that I thought was, and I have to figure out a way to have this conversation with her towards the end of the school year because of my role, but they were playing this vocabulary game. And I'm hearing a white woman saying stuff like, no cap. What they do? And the kids are laughing, right? Like, you don't even talk like this. And then as someone who works in education, I'm furious, right? Because it's like, so this is English class. What you've done right now is decided that these young Black boys don't have the capacity to learn academic English. So you're taking the easy way out and you're just going to create a little game and teach them stuff that they already know what it means instead of teaching them what they need to know, right? So it's just, yeah, like, so to see that there is white bodies that are reaching out to the cultural bodies to help them, and then to see what I witnessed in the last month in a certain classroom is like, yeah, it's just interesting. Like, why wouldn't, especially knowing that this woman, she knows me, we've worked together, she knows me, I'm there all the time. Like, but it's that piece where even though this is my work and my racial consciousness is way higher than hers, because she's the licensed teacher who's a white woman, she knows better than me how to teach Black history and stuff like that, instead of reaching out. When the lady across the hall from her did reach out and have me come in and teach her unit on code switching.
Right. So here's the piece. And I want to keep coming back to y'all with this, because if I don't come back to it and I don't keep saying this, it will, and I've seen it happen with other contracts that I've had, it will slip into something and they will have to go back and get it. So you said something, man. You said, I have to figure out a way to go back and sit with and talk to her about this, right? Because of the position that I have, right? Here's what I want to say is some of what you watch some of your colleagues on this call, some of the way that they've been able to move, some of your white colleagues, right, is because there has been some shared reps with each other. There's been some foundational building with each other. Do you understand what I mean? There's been some cultural, no matter how small it is, there's been some cultural pieces that have started to begin to be built with each other. No matter how faint they are, it's there, right? When you go and talk to somebody who has not had this experience, you have to prepare yourself for that. I can't stress this enough. Coming back every month and seeing these white bodies come back every month and work with them does something vibratorily that does not exist with that woman. That doesn't even exist with the white woman who's had you come in and teach the piece. Because there is no there. There is no cultural foundation pieces that are being created vibratorily. Right? Image-wise, meaning-making-wise, behavior-wise, urges-wise. You haven't seen her pause. You haven't seen her orient and look around and none of that. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying be clear about what the results are that you're looking for, right? Because one of the things you can say is that I really encourage you to sign up next year for the next thing. I really do. Because there's certain pieces that I'm going to say to you now, you're absolutely not going to be able to get. And I know it out the box. And she might go, well, no, I took a DEI course in this, and I took implicit bias in that, and I took this, that, and this, right? And you're sitting there thinking, that reaction right there is why. And I knew all of that energy was going to come in when I said that, because now I'm saying this to the white bodies on this call, your reps help Marlon, help Maurice, help Siley, it helps them, because the more reps you get in, the less they have to fucking take care of you. The more reps you get in, the less they have to be concerned. Not that you won't make mistakes, but be concerned that when you make a mistake, that you have some place to work the mistake. That you don't get stuck in the rage of the mistake. You don't get stuck in the fraudulence of the mistake. You work it. And the more you work it, the more vibratorily I can fuck with you. The more you work it, the more vibratorily I can sit here and I can go, when something happens, I can go, yeah, okay. Because we're doing something together. But that woman, Marlon or Maurice, that is teaching that class, she doesn't have a foundation. She can't hear you. She can't vibe you. There is no meaning making between you. So just
that's why I haven't. That's why I haven't.
That's right.
That's why I
Take your time.
Because
That's right.
I know that the response isn't gonna be, and
That's
I literally, what you said is kind of what I'm thinking about is she needs to take this
Take,
course.
take your time, and this is how y'all begin to build a culture in the organization, as opposed to addressing just, you know, incidents, right? You begin to say to people, I see what you're doing. I really think you need to be doing this. I see that. I really think you'd be doing this. Here's what I got of it. White bodies who see shit happening between other white bodies, or something happens between y'all and y'all go quiet, you begin to say, oh, I saw that. Hey, I noticed when we were in that meeting and that racial piece came up, I noticed you did that piece. I really suggest you should do this piece over. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you begin to affect the culture, as opposed to only addressing incidents. That's why I started at the beginning when I said, how will you address this culturally as white bodies with other white bodies? How will you address what just happened this weekend? How will you address that? Not how will you get the right answer? How will you address it so it becomes part of the thing that people vibe from you? Oh, this crazy shit happened this past weekend. I already know Heather gonna, either if she ain't gonna say something about it, I already know she gonna move a certain way about it. I already know Kristen is gonna do. Do you understand what I mean? How do bodies of culture know the difference between a white body that is doing this type of living embodied anti-racist work and a body that's not? Through the vibes, through the reps. That's how we know. Not by you coming up to me and telling me you're my damn ally. I don't know it like that. I know it because we've been on this call over and over and over again, and I see Kathy get ready to cry and break down and collapse, and she grabs it and holds it and works with it. That's how I know. And then she don't make me responsible for the fact that she's experiencing shit. And now I'm supposed to make her feel better, and now the labor is on me. No, I can trust her when emotion comes up and she works it. And then she takes it back to her triad and work it. That's culture building. And the reason why white bodies, and when Autumn said the thing about the rage piece, the reason why she has to sit there and she has to work with it, she has to bring it back to her triad, is because when she begins to work with it and put it out there, or whatever it is she does with it, if she can get the reps in, the sense of it is not so overwhelming. But if she doesn't do it, she will take those off ramps. Oh, I can't do it because that's a white male. Or I can't do it because they're older. Or I can't do it because there's, okay. Oh, okay. And every time you do that, it shows bodies of culture. I can't mess with you. If you're not going to temper and condition yourself with other white bodies when these types of things show up, and knowing that you're going to get pushback because the prevailing ethos and ethics is organized around white supremacy. White supremacy is the standard, right? So when you bring it up, people are going to get funky about it. And if you don't temper and you condition yourself to deal with the funkiness, you'll give it up and look for comfort. White body supremacy is the standard in 287. It is the standard. It is the foundation. It is the baseline. And if you don't believe me, ask one of your bodies of culture colleagues. Don't ask another white body. Ask one of your colleagues if you think I'm just hyperbole. This is why, Autumn, you have to work it. The rage is a doorway in, not an exit.
Patricia, you
Can
had
I
a hand.
speak?
There you go. Go ahead.
I'm reacting a lot, lots of energy around this conversation with comfort, and like that being what white bodies tend to like aim for and want in life. And like, I think where my struggle is and like where the pain I think for it lies for me is that it's an imposition of like values onto other people. And I see time and time again, like families of culture that come into my office that are like, why isn't my student like meeting goals, meeting expectations? And it's like, well, it's because when they walk through these doors, there's an imposition of comfort. And like the idea that this privileged life of a white body is the desire, is the end goal for all people. When greatness comes from suffering, right? Like greatness and like achieving things, like even historically in the US, when things are invented, when things are engineered, when like historically things progress out of darkness, out of dark times, and you have to push through and you have to work through that. But instead, a lot of my students are being told like, oh, like there's an imposition again, that the life that you want is this life where you don't do anything with your life. And I can't stand it. Like this is where a lot of my reactions come from, is like a lot of this work of decolonizing and finding roots just is leading to like seeing a lot of things at the same time. Seeing my countrymen vote again for the son of Marcos, the dictator, like this past week has been terrible. And then also having families coming into my office saying like, how come my kid's not learning skills to be resilient? And it's like, well, because all of their educators are teaching them that like to avoid stress and strain when it's necessary to be human. To be a lived in human experience is to suffer a bit, and things come out of that. And instead I see everywhere around me, it's like, let me take that, like no, not everyone wants comfort all the time. Not everyone wants to end up as the people in that movie WALL-E. Not everyone wants to end up a blob in front of a TV watching Netflix all the time. Like that should not be the goal that we try to teach our kids. Like I'm losing words too, because it's just like this whole idea that like comfort is where we should end up. It's less human. It's like going further and further away from an actual human experience.
Ooh. Can we just let that sit for a second, y'all?
Patricia, I'm sending you a big virtual hug. We got you.
We got you, sis. Sis, this is the second time in the last 3 days that Saturday, another Filipino sister said the same thing to me about this. I want y'all to understand what it's like for Filipinos to vote for Marcos, from a descendant of the Marcos regime. And this stuff is ever present. The establishment of the Marcos regime at the hands of the United States is this stuff has long historical roots. And so when you're watching sis say these pieces, this is historical, intergenerational, persistent, institutional, and very, 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 very fucking personal. Because people died. And what I'm hearing sis talk about is this idea of allowing emergence to take place with our babies. Allowing the heat to exist somewhat, not turned up to boil. That's not what she's saying. She's saying be a cook. Have the pot on, use the heat to make things work and taste better, but taste it so you can turn it down and modulate it. And many of our educators and people don't know how to do that with our babies. So they give them slavery, 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 and then wonder why they like, well, you know what? I'm good. I'm not going back to that class. We give them, you know, Asian people ain't done this and ain't done that. And then we wonder why I'm good. I'm not meeting grade level because I'm not going to the fucking class and having my spirit bothered like that anymore. We don't work it and we don't put things into context. What I'm hearing sis talk about is how do we contextualize this for our babies so the heat and the pressure and the charge is used as fuel for their freedom as opposed to fuel that burns them. And that's why I'm saying that's a structural thing. That's a cultural thing that we have to do. And the bodies of culture are asking the white bodies on this call, begin to help us build the culture, that a container that can say, that I am not trying to make life so comfortable that our kids have no spark, no fire, no purpose. And that's what the educational system is doing.
It's really, really hard because I grew up in the Philippines where my education system was created and embedded in, and it still is to date, by the American education system.
That's it.
And when we look at the American education system here, with midterm elections coming up and the past few elections, the reasons why my people voted for Marcos again is the reason why the seats are going to flip hard in the coming midterm elections.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. They have the
Mhm.
same education systems.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting in this as I watch live how my colleagues are like teaching my children that I'm working with to get like to be complacent, to
That's it.
ignore the stress, to avoid looking at social justice, to not pay attention to their lives and how it will be impacted by these like elections, by all of the stuff that educated people should be paying attention to.
Yeah.
And I'm going to watch my country go back and revert, and I'm going to watch this country become the country that my dad took us out of there for.
Yes, exactly.
We fled that country because he grew up in it under that rule, and I'm just watching it happen here.
Yeah.
And then we get the mass shooters because it's legal here. Like we get to teach kids to have this hatred so that when they're old enough to hold a gun, that they're gonna come after us anyways. Like
Yeah.
over there where I come from, it's the cops that go shoot you, but here
That's
they're training the kids to have this prejudice. So
And the cops.
and the cops.
Let me say this piece, y'all. Let me just say this. I don't care who you voted for. I don't. I really don't. But if you're on this call and you believe that there absolutely is no chance that that President Trump will not be reelected as president of the United States, you are not seeing what you should be seeing. You are not watching what you should be watching. There is an infrastructure that's being built, that has been built, that is hardy. And if you think you won't see President Trump be elected again in 2024, you are not seeing what you should be seeing. January 6th set up what you saw on Saturday. They are connected. More white women voted for Trump the second time than the first time. That's about self-interest. And that's what's being pumped into our children. That's what's in the infrastructure. This is why I say white body supremacy is the standard. And I'm so glad you're hearing from your colleagues around the impact of this on them. This is not about your kindness. This is not about your niceness. That is inadequate to deal with the structure that you all are in right now. How are you going to say something to other white bodies? How are you going to begin to create an infrastructure or begin to create an avenue so you can begin to get your reps in with other white bodies, realizing you may lose something. You may lose stature, access, money, job, husband, children. That's what it means when you begin to literally work this stuff as opposed to having a consciousness about it. There's not one bad white person on this call. Y'all all good white people. You're all good white people. That is inadequate. That is inadequate. That white boy who went into that grocery store did not have an alternative culture to lean into. There was nothing on the other side. There was nothing on the other side. All right, y'all. Listen. Connect with your triads. Do your Vimbasi. Figure out what you're going to do. Start with the gnawing. If your normal gnawing shows up in collapse, start there. If your normal gnawing starts with tears, start there. If your normal gnawing starts with rage, start there. I love you. I don't do this work. There's no way I could be doing this work if I didn't love you and love what I'm doing. But that ain't enough.
Can I share something quick, Resmo?
Please.
So a couple weeks ago, I had the privilege of attending Resmo's newest book release party. And in doing so, I wanted to bring all of the white bodies that I work with who serve on the board of my nonprofit organization so they could see that there's other white people that are really anti-racist and cultivating a new culture. So I know they were scared, like, man, like, Mo, is this gonna be like a Black Panther party? Resmo, like, they were really nervous, bro. Like, they thought I was about to bring them, like,
right.
And when we got in there,
everybody was gonna be there with AR-15s and
when we got there,
stepping in unison. Yeah.
When we left, they were like, "Thank you, Mo," because I really thought I was like one of a few white folks who believe and think like this. And ever since your book release party, they've been doing what you talk about doing, which is taking action and being willing to lose certain relationships and friendships to exchange them with relationships and friendships with other white bodies who value what they value. So one of my one of the dudes I brought, he was so moved, he started a men's group for 8 of his white male friends to call this shit out and talk to them about what they need to do. So I just wanted, you know, because I know a lot of people get a misperception of your work and oh, your husband's racist. I'll just say this: there might have been more white people than black people there, or it was pretty close split.
Yeah.
So it was important for them to see that because I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. This is what I say, y'all. Your people are not the people you start with. It's the people you end with. And the way you end with people is by doing your reps. Who is there doing your reps with you? Who are you building the cultural glue with? Those are your people. Your people are not the people who say, yes, 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 racism is wrong. Let's put on a pussy hat. Yeah, whatever the hell it is, you know, whatever these, you know, these kind of performative things are that we do, right? Like that's not your people. All right, y'all. I'll talk to y'all soon. Love you.
Thank you. Have a good day there.
You too, bro.
Hey, we got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. Lars. Oh, Lars not on there.